the Earth, in a nutshell, is a planet that is a rocky planet. In fact, it's the largest of the rocky planets in the solar system. It is the third planet away from the sun and in the habitable zone of the sun. And that means that there is the potential for liquid water on the surface, and indeed 71% of the Earth is covered by water. 29% is covered by land. The bulk composition of Earth, however, is not water. It is 35% iron, and that's mostly in the core. 30% oxygen, that's mostly in the rock, in the mantle, and in the crust. Silicon, and 15%, magnesium 10%, also in the crust and in the mantle, and everything else is 10%. The atmosphere is a very thin layer covering the Earth, and within the atmosphere there are water clouds. At any one time, about 50% of the Earth is covered by clouds. If we look at the Earth in this view, where we can see the continents, we can see there are polar regions, polar ice caps. There are desert regions here, mostly near the equator and in high altitudes. We have also areas of continent where we have green that is for plants, and of course cities with people. There's a ring of fire, so-called, around the edges of many of the continents here in the Pacific Ocean. And in this region, there are lots of earthquakes, there are active volcanoes, and tsunamis can often happen because of the earthquakes under the ocean. And this is called the Ring of Fire. So Earth is a very active planet. There's the Mid-Atlantic Rift. The continents, South America and Africa, are moving apart from each other. This was noticed and called the continental drift. And this shows a map of that Mid-Atlantic ridge, which is seen here, which starts with Iceland up here and goes through the entire Atlantic Ocean. And this is the red, is the region of newest surface, newest underwater surface, and moving to green as older surface. So the plates are spreading here, creating new surface along this ridge. This is the Himalaya mountains. This is where the plate from India is crashing into an Asian plate, and Mount Everest is the highest peak on planet Earth. The Earth has a solid iron core. It has a liquid outer core that's also mostly iron. And we have the mantle. About maybe 85% of the Earth is in the mantle, and above that we have the asthenosphere and the layers of the crust and lithosphere. The Earth has a strong magnetic field. There are the belts around the Earth where the magnetic field traps particles of radiation. The region is called Van Allen radiation belt, and particles are trapped there and they emit radiation. And the magnetic field also is very protective of the Earth and the atmosphere and water in the atmosphere of the Earth. The water cycle involves the evaporation of water from lakes and in the ocean into clouds that condensate, and then precipitation as the rainfall falls down. A very important process is the weathering of the rocks that the rainfall hits, that involves the silicon oxygen process as well. Plants grow, the plants will absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and release oxygen. And we have the water cycle. Also the carbon cycle. There are a lot of details, but the most important parts for now are the volcanoes, where gases from the interior of Earth are able to be released and come into the atmosphere, and plants release oxygen into the atmosphere and remove carbon dioxide. Burning of fossil fuels release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. The oxygen is overall a sink of carbon dioxide into the oceans, and ultimately carbon gets into the crust and subducted into the mantle, where it then can complete the cycle and come out of volcanoes again. So, in summary, Earth has a layered interior, a solid inner core, a liquid outer core. It has a liquid rock mantle that, well, it's solid and a liquid under high pressure, and it kind of acts like solid in some parts, a solid rock crust, and also an atmosphere. Nitrogen, oxygen molecules make up most of the atmosphere. Trace amounts of water and carbon dioxide and others. Nitrogen is the most abundant element in the atmosphere. Earth has an internally generated magnetic field. It has a surface that has complex features: oceans, continents, polar ice caps, deserts, mountains, volcanoes. It has very few impact craters. They have been wiped away by erosion. Erosion is the major cause of changes to the surface of the Earth. Rain and rivers, wind, ice and glaciers, plate tectonics, volcanoes and geysers, and humans all contribute to the changes in the surface. And for all of these reasons, we have fewer impact craters seen on the surface of Earth. So that's Earth in a nutshell.